With a faint sigh, Wang Lin's figure grew farther and farther from Blue Mountain. From a distance, it became blurred, like a scene fading from a dream. And now, the dream had ended. He had arrived with Li Qianmei, but left alone. This sense of solitude, Wang Lin had long since grown used to it. Yet this time, he couldn't help but feel a lingering sorrow. After nearly 2,000 years of cultivation, he had seen through all worldly matters. He had learned to embrace loneliness, and in that loneliness, had swallowed a lifetime of blue-tinged melancholy. Enough! Wang Lin turned back and gave one final glance at the hazy blue peak in the distance. For a fleeting moment, it seemed as if a silhouette lingered upon it. Then, he turned away and began walking slowly into the distance. His back looked forlorn as he receded further and further away. The Blue Silk Clan's star domain spanned vast regions. Amid the endless sea of stars, Wang Lin drifted through the starry sky, slowly heading farther into the void. He didn't know why, but a deep fatigue had taken hold of him, an exhaustion of spirit, laced with subtle sorrow. While moving forward via spatial shift, he gradually reached the edge of the Blue Silk Clan's domain. Just a little farther, and he would step beyond its bounds. His figure flickered into view from within the spatial shift, preparing to leave the Blue Silk Clan's territory. But at that moment, Wang Lin's body suddenly froze. His eyes flared like torches, locking onto the space ahead. Before him, the starry sky was dazzling and serene, its beauty tinged with something eerie. To Wang Lin, the moment he arrived here, an intense sense of dread gripped him. It was a feeling he knew well. Throughout his 2,000 years of cultivation, it had surfaced many times, each instance a brush with death. The last time had been just before the arrival of the Waterpath Master. Wang Lin's expression turned solemn. Since his arrival in the ancient star of antiquity, this was the first time he had experienced such a terrifying premonition. Even when facing Tua-san, it had never been this intense. Now, staring into the calm starry sky, Wang Lin slowly closed his eyes. His divine sense spread outward, scanning the surroundings. But all remained silent, and he detected nothing unusual. His brows furrowed as he opened his eyes again. Still, there was only empty space ahead, yet the gut-wrenching fear only grew stronger. In silence, Wang Lin's eyes flashed. He closed them again, and deep within his pupils, a blue flame ignited. Lightning crackled around it. Outside the flame and lightning, the taiji of life and death manifested, revolving and generating karma. Within its flickering movements, the transformation of truth and falsehood emerged. The 5 fundamental origins surged within Wang Lin's pupils. As they spun rapidly, he suddenly opened his eyes wide, peering ahead. With this gaze, it was as though he could pierce all veils of illusion and perceive the essence of all things. His gaze now closely approached the Dao nightmare eyes he had once accidentally unleashed in the Luo Tian star domain. But the moment his eyes opened, his pupils abruptly contracted. Every hair on his body stood on end as primordial energy surged through him, his eyes crackling like lightning. Not far ahead, he saw a woman in white. She floated in the starry sky like a wraith, utterly devoid of life. Even divine sense couldn't detect her presence. Her long black hair draped over her shoulders, and a faint glow surrounded her, obscuring her face. It was as though a strange force enveloped her, causing any gaze upon her to pass straight through. Wang Lin's heart grew heavy. He stared unblinkingly ahead. The woman stood silently, her gaze fixed upon Wang Lin. Between them spread a stillness as silent as annihilation. She said nothing. Neither did Wang Lin. In truth, he should never have seen her, but the 5 fundamental origins within his pupils had pierced the veil, revealing this eerie figure that had been following him all along. The first impression she gave him was one of overwhelming spiritual disturbance, a soul-deep sense of mortal danger that exploded within an instant. She's not human. For some reason, that thought surfaced unbidden in Wang Lin's mind. After a long silence, Wang Lin began to retreat, slowly. His eyes narrowed, and his right hand rested casually at his side, faint traces of blood light flickering across it. The woman didn't move. She simply watched him in silence, until he had retreated so far he vanished into the far end of the starry sky. Only after a long while did she murmur softly to herself, as though in a trance. He could actually see me. As Wang Lin continued withdrawing, growing farther from where the woman had stood, that soul-jolting terror slowly began to ease, but it never fully disappeared, casting a persistent shadow over his expression. He didn't know why, but the image of Tuosen's third eye erupting with blinding light, followed by his abrupt and panicked retreat, flashed in his mind. Somehow, it felt connected. In silence, Wang Lin's eyes flickered. With a twist of his body, he descended onto the nearest cultivation star within the Blue Silk clan's territory, a world bathed in soft blue, where oceans covered most of its surface. On this cultivation star, Wang Lin transformed into a long rainbow and stepped onto the peak of a mountain. The mountain winds howled, carrying a chill that made Wang Lin's clothes flutter. He gazed at the sky, and within his pupils, 5 fundamental origins swirled. After carefully observing for a long time, he no longer saw the figure of the woman, so he sat cross-legged on the peak. This person, what is her true purpose? With a furrowed brow, Wang Lin simply closed his eyes and began his breathing exercises. However, the origins in his pupils did not dissipate, but remained alert. Time passed slowly, and 7 days quickly passed by. During these 7 days, Wang Lin did not move, and the woman in white never appeared again. On the 7th day, Wang Lin opened his eyes. A flash of brilliance flickered within his gaze, and his mind calmed. Yet, the woman's figure remained rooted in his heart, transforming into a dark cloud within his thoughts. This person clearly did not expect that I would notice her presence before I left the Blue Silk clan's domain. Her position is just outside the Blue Silk clan's star domain. The Blue Silk clan has the Blue Dream Dao Sovereign, whose cultivation is immeasurable. Perhaps that is why she did not step into the Blue Silk clan. Wang Lin's eyes gleamed with insight. During his 7 days of meditation, he had carefully reviewed everything since he entered this ancient star, and he gradually realized that after encountering Tuosen, the uneasy feeling had started to arise. At the time, he thought it was a normal reaction after meeting Tuosen, but upon reflection, he immediately found the clue. That unease was not caused by Tuosen at all. Even when he brought Li Qianmei through the starry sky toward the Blue Silk clan, that feeling still existed, though faint, barely noticeable. At that time, he had been so anxious about Li Qianmei's life and death that he had overlooked this subtle anomaly. Now, completely calm, he recalled these days with a focused mind and finally made a discovery. This person has been following me for many days, only stopping once I entered the Blue Silk clan's domain. Wang Lin's face darkened. He had been cultivating for so long, but this was the first time something like this had happened. He had been followed without realizing it. Wait. Wang Lin's expression shifted with suspicion as a thought crossed his mind. Even under my 5 fundamental origins, I could see this person's figure, but without that intense sense of unease, I wouldn't have bothered to expend my limited origins to check. Yet, when this person followed me before, that feeling was present, but barely noticeable. Why, in the Blue Silk clan, did that feeling suddenly intensify when I was about to leave? Wang Lin's gaze sharpened, and after a moment of contemplation, he circulated his primordial energy, letting it flow through his body. Ancient god power spread within him, and as he circulated it again, a brilliant gleam flashed in his eyes. My primordial energy is slightly more abundant than before. Even the ancient god power, though not increased, is denser, as if compressed. Especially my primordial spirit and soul. They've undergone some change, becoming more sensitive. Wang Lin lifted his head to look at the distant sky. His gaze seemed to pierce through the boundless starry sky, landing on the cultivation star of the Blue Silk clan, where the Blue Dream Dao Sovereign resided, and on the blue mountain that emitted a blue radiance. He had a vague idea of the answer, and his expression grew complicated. The days he spent climbing Blue Mountain, under immense resistance, had caused a tremendous change within him. Although his cultivation did not increase, he had become far more sensitive than before, able to clearly perceive even the faintest trace of unease. Blue Dream Dao Sovereign. If this was all part of his design, then my earlier guess was correct. The woman in white is cautious of Blue Dream Dao Sovereign, and therefore did not enter the Blue Silk clan. Moreover, Blue Dream Dao Sovereign, using this method, secretly warned me of the dangers of leaving the Blue Silk clan. Wang Lin's mind had sharpened to an extraordinary level. With just the slightest clue, he could deduce the truth, as though breaking through a restriction in his heart. Furthermore, this woman's background must be immense. Even Blue Dream Dao Sovereign cannot speak of her directly, instead choosing to hint at me in this way. If this is true, then who is this woman in white? If this is the case, then Blue Dream Dao Sovereign must have already predicted that I would choose to stay in the Blue Silk clan. Wang Lin's expression grew more solemn as he gazed at the sky, falling into silence. He gave up on leaving immediately and instead sat cross-legged on the peak, beginning his meditation and breathing exercises. His weary mind gradually relaxed as time passed. Days slipped by, and before long, a month had passed. Wang Lin had been meditating on the mountain peak of this cultivation star, continuously absorbing the world's primordial energy, which condensed within him. The injuries he sustained from climbing Blue Mountain had healed completely, allowing his cultivation to return to its peak state. One day, as Wang Lin meditated on the peak, the sky suddenly filled with endless blue radiance. The blue light was soft, enveloping the world. A vague figure emerged from within the blue glow, gradually solidifying into a clear form. Wang Lin opened his eyes, calmly gazing at the middle-aged man emerging from the sky, filled with azure radiance. Blue Dream Dao Sovereign. I possess 9 divine arts. Will you learn them, or not? The Blue Dream Dao Sovereign stood midair. He took a step and landed on the peak of the mountain, turning around with his hands behind his back, gazing at the sky's blue radiance, awaiting Wang Lin's response. The mountain breeze blew, ruffling his blue hair, and a soft pressure of power emanated from him. Standing atop the mountain, the peak before him seemed to vanish. On this cultivation star, all its energy had no trace. Standing within this world, even the very heavens seemed to lower themselves. Everything bowed before the Blue Dream Dao Sovereign. He stood beneath the starry sky, and all the light within the heavens seemed to bend away from him. Where he stood, he was the mountain, the sky, and the starry expanse. Throughout my life, most of my spells are self-created. 9 divine arts, 6 immortal techniques, 3 Taoist arts, and 1 technique of life and death. All can be imparted to you. Will you learn them, or not? Wang Lin remained silent, not speaking. I also possess 200 billion disciples' devotional power, along with my understanding of the void realm. Do you want it? Wang Lin's breath became slightly hurried as he looked at the Blue Dream Dao Sovereign, but still did not speak. I also have 5 Dao artifacts forged from celestial meteorites. Even the Palm Sovereigns must be wary of me. When these 5 Dao artifacts are unleashed, the heavens and earth will shake. Do you want them? The light in Wang Lin's eyes flickered sharply, his breathing becoming heavier. I also hold the 3rd step Dao heritage, with no successors to date. Do you want it? I can also take you through the primordial era, trade with the other 4 sovereigns for Dao spirits, and help you attain supreme divine arts. I can even break through the void and lead you to the legendary burial ground of the ancient gods, assisting you in absorbing ancient souls, allowing your ancient god body to reach perfection. Within you are 5 origins, an astonishing talent. Throughout history, I have never heard of someone born with 5 origins. I can help you perfect each one, then pass on my Dao heritage, granting you 7 origins. The Blue Dream Dao Sovereign's voice was calm as his gaze fell on Wang Lin. He spoke slowly. Do you want all of this? Wang Lin's eyes reddened as he stared at the Blue Dream Dao Sovereign. The words and temptations conveyed to him were nothing short of earth-shattering. How could he not be moved? He was deeply moved. You must have sensed the crisis outside the Blue Silk clan. That woman has a great background. If you become my Dao heir, I will shoulder all the dangers for you. Consider this carefully. The conditions. Wang Lin's voice was hoarse, Blue Dream Dao Sovereign's words reverberating like thunder in his heart. The Blue Dream Dao Sovereign remained calm, locking eyes with Wang Lin, and spoke evenly. The conditions are simple, only 2. First, from this moment on, you will no longer belong to the realm. You will be the young sect master of the Blue Silk clan in the ancient starry sky. You will swallow the heart-forgetting fruit, take the origin oath, and sever all ties with this world. Your body, your heart, your everything will be forever disconnected from the realm. Even if a war breaks out between the inner and outer realms, you will not participate, and you cannot assist the realm any longer. The words of the Blue Dream Dao Sovereign were like daggers, piercing into Wang Lin's body, causing him to shudder. Second, regardless of any emotions or attachments you have within the realm, from now on, everything will be severed. I only have one daughter, and you may practice dual cultivation with her, but for the rest of your life, she shall be the only one. Wang Lin closed his eyes. The temptation offered by the Blue Dream Dao Sovereign could be said to be the greatest he had ever faced in his life. If any other conditions were proposed, Wang Lin might have been moved and even accepted them. But the two conditions put forth by the Blue Dream Dao Sovereign were simply impossible for him to agree to. He was of the realm, born and raised within it. If he agreed, it would be akin to betraying his homeland. The words of the immortal who died in the sealed realm grand array echoed in his mind, and the images of the sacrifices made by the Lord of the sealed realm reverberated in his thoughts. The first condition was unacceptable, and the second, giving up Li Muan, was almost as if he would be abandoning his path, his lifelong pursuit, and the promise he made. He could never accept it. Opening his eyes, his gaze filled with bloodshot veins, Wang Lin spoke in a low voice. I can refuse. I will not learn. Blue Dream Dao Sovereign's eyes flashed with cold light, fixing his gaze on Wang Lin. What Wang Lin didn't know was that many years ago, Qing Lin of the Rain Realm had faced the same tremendous temptation. The one who tempted Qing Lin was the Palm Sovereign, while Wang Lin now faced the Blue Dream Dao Sovereign. Senior, your cultivation is unfathomable, but I must ask one question. In your life, is there anyone more important than your own life? Wang Lin lowered his head, speaking softly. There is. The Blue Dream Dao Sovereign paused before answering slowly. If you were me, Senior, and had to give up that important person in exchange for supreme cultivation, would you agree? Wang Lin raised his head, looking at the Blue Dream Dao Sovereign. And if, beyond that, you had to give up the entire Blue Silk clan, would you agree? The Blue Dream Dao Sovereign did not immediately answer. Instead, he fell silent for a moment before speaking gently. The third step of cultivation is known as the Four Realms of Void. Of these, Void Nirvana marks the beginning. Ethereal Void is the threshold, Profound Void represents the Great Tao, and Void Cataclysm is the pinnacle. Since ancient times, I have only ever heard of someone reaching the peak of Void Cataclysm, but never of anyone successfully overcoming its tribulation. As for that rumored fourth step, treading heaven, no one has ever attained it. Even the 8 consorts of the ancient immortal domain never reached it. Blue Dream Dao Sovereign withdrew his gaze from Wang Lin and slowly looked out to the distant sky as he spoke. Within me, there are 2 origin sources. One has reached the mid-stage of profound void, while the other, sealed away, has come infinitely close to the early stage of Void Cataclysm. When these 2 merge, I can unleash power at the very peak of profound void. Do you know how many beings like me exist beyond the inner realm? Blue Dream Dao Sovereign asked calmly. Excluding the 8 ancient consorts, there are at least 7. Your inner realm lacks devotional power, and it has been trapped for countless millennia within the sealed realm grand array. Moreover, the Palm Sovereign is a master of schemes, planting many seeds of our outer realm inside your world. Your realm has been driven to the brink of collapse. What use is there in clinging to delusions? Blue Dream Dao Sovereign's words pierced Wang Lin's heart, silencing him. After a long silence, Wang Lin finally raised his head. Looking at the Dao Sovereign, he said solemnly, "What you say may well be true. But if so, why hasn't the outer realm launched a full-scale war against the inner realm? Why rely on the slow erosion of time to dismantle our power? I suspect that within the inner realm, there exists something, or someone, that even you fear." Blue Dream Dao Sovereign paused for a moment, then said plainly, "You're right. There is such a presence." Back then, a single roar from him sent the Palm Sovereign fleeing in panic. Wang Lin's heart shook. He had only suspected as much, but never expected to hear such a secret from Blue Dream Dao Sovereign himself. "You've made your decision. I won't press further. You brought Xun'er here. Our karmic debt ends here. Though I cannot offer you the devotional lineage, I will teach you 3 divine arts. How much you grasp depends on your own comprehension. Blue Dream Dao Sovereign sighed inwardly. He held Wang Lin in high regard, and everything he had said was the truth. But some matters simply couldn't be forced. As one of the 5 ancient sovereigns, a third-step great power, pride came with the title. He would not coerce anyone. Watch closely. This is my first divine art. As Blue Dream Dao Sovereign raised his right hand and reached toward the sky, the heavens roared. The wind and clouds twisted violently, and in an instant, the entire sky was flooded with endless azure radiance. A massive vortex faintly emerged overhead. The vortex rumbled, and forces of heaven and earth surged from all directions, condensing into a colossal seal formed entirely of primordial energy, like the imperial seal of a mortal emperor. As the seal descended, the world shook violently. Heaven became earth, earth became heaven. The world reversed. The mountain peak on which Wang Lin stood suddenly inverted. The earth turned into the sky, and the mountain transformed into a giant, upside-down cone. Yet, strangely, not a single stone fell. Instead, Wang Lin felt his soul tremble under an indescribable power that swept through the world like a storm. Beneath him now lay a sky flooded with azure radiance. Clouds, sun, all reversed and twisted beyond recognition. Only Blue Dream Dao Sovereign stood unmoved, towering between heaven and earth. This divine art is called the heaven-flipping seal. What does it mean to flip the heavens? To me, it means turning the sky into the earth. When the earth becomes the sky, that is the strongest seal in existence. As he swung his right hand downward, the land that had become the sky fell with a thunderous roar, crashing toward the real sky below. Wang Lin's spirit trembled. He stared in disbelief. Never had he imagined such a divine art could exist. Its power, if unleashed in the starry sky, could exterminate all living beings. If you ever wield this in the starry sky, your heart must encompass heaven and earth, Blue Dream Dao Sovereign said as he raised his hand and flicked his sleeve. Instantly, heaven and earth trembled. It was as if time flowed in reverse. Everything returned to normal. The sky was once again the sky, and the ground was the ground. In this cosmos of heaven and earth, what exists in greatest abundance? It's not people, not spirits, not divine arts, nor even heaven and earth energy. In my view, it's light. Light is everywhere. It exists in all places, in all things. The heaven-flipping seal is an offensive art. My second divine art is for defense. Watch closely. Without giving Wang Lin any time to absorb what he'd seen, Blue Dream Dao Sovereign raised his right hand once again. In that moment, every tree, plant, creature, and dwelling, everything that existed in this world, began to emit boundless radiance. Even the starry sky beyond the heavens burst into dazzling brilliance. That infinite light descended in an instant, earth-shaking and world-shattering, enveloping Blue Dream Dao Sovereign completely. At that moment, he seemed to become the very source of all light in heaven and earth. The light was so piercing that even Wang Lin felt his eyes burn, unable to keep them open. A towering, radiant shadow appeared outside Blue Dream Dao Sovereign's body, reaching as high as the heavens and earth. Though this technique is not a Dao art, it was comprehended by me when I reached the ethereal void realm. If you can learn it, you'll be able to protect yourself in this ancient star of antiquity. As for the final technique I will teach you, it is one that I realized at the pinnacle of the ethereal void realm, one of the 3 great Dao arts of my life. The second technique, the light and shadow shield, represents the pinnacle of defense. When these 2 divine arts are unleashed, the very heavens and earth change color. Wang Lin, still not fully comprehending the heaven-shaking seal, found himself immersed in the light and shadow shield. The 2 techniques, one offensive, one defensive, repeatedly echoed in his mind. Watch closely, I will now teach you the third technique, Dao Art Fusion. This technique is neither an attack nor a defense. It is a special Dao art that fuses your own divine arts to change their origin. If you master it, you can combine your techniques into either many or a singular, unique one. Blue Dream Dao Sovereign's voice remained calm. After demonstrating the heaven-shaking seal and the light and shadow shield, his right hand didn't lower, but instead formed an intricate seal, pointing toward the void. The misty clouds in the sky instantly swirled and gathered, speeding toward Blue Dream Tao Sovereign's fingertip, forming a foggy sphere that emitted swirling trails and rotated endlessly. As the rotation accelerated, the fog ball disappeared, transforming into a spread of white vapor. The vapor too began to rotate, forming a vortex sweeping through the air. Soon, the vortex changed into sparkling water droplets, hovering at Blue Dream Tao Sovereign's fingertip, spinning faster. This scene struck Wang Lin with sudden clarity, a hint of realization flickering in his eyes. At that moment, the water droplets began to change again, cracking with a series of sharp sounds, transforming into ice crystals. These ice shards immediately fused together, their sounds growing louder, resembling the thunderous boom of a storm. In the blink of an eye, an ice sword appeared at Blue Dream Tao Sovereign's fingertip. The sword was 7 feet long, 3 inches wide, emanating endless cold, and under the sunlight, it reflected a dazzling array of colors from its blade. From clouds to mist, water to ice. This brief transformation altered the very origin, becoming the ice sword. Wang Lin's mind was shaken, a profound understanding beginning to dawn within him. This is changing the physical state of the origin through Tao art, as well as the fusion of divine arts within your body. You must fuse the two techniques when you strike. Blue Dream Tao Sovereign looked at Wang Lin. Without hesitation, Wang Lin raised his right hand and swung it forward. The heavens and earth shook, and a fierce black wind howled from within, unleashing 7 black dragons. These dragons were terrifying, roaring as soon as they appeared, filling the air with coldness capable of extinguishing the flame of life. Oh, the 6 Paths Triple Art of a Mortal Emperor by Fan. This is the wind path of the 6 paths. Though it is not a Tao art, if cultivated to its extreme, it is formidable indeed. Blue Dream Tao Sovereign's expression revealed surprise. After summoning the wind, Wang Lin didn't pause. With a hand seal, he pointed toward the 7 black dragons. The dragons roared, their thunderous cries resounding across the land, and with a deafening sound, droplets of rain began to fall from the air. Rain path of the 6 paths. Blue Dream Tao Sovereign furrowed his brows. He hadn't expected Wang Lin to use these two techniques. He had heard of Bai Fan, the supreme of the Thunder Realm. His divine arts were notoriously difficult to fuse. This child is quite clever. He must have realized that I intend to help him fuse a technique and used his strongest divine arts. Blue Dream Tao Sovereign gave Wang Lin a half-smile, then raised his hand to grasp at the void. Immediately, the 7 black dragons, summoned by the wind, trembled and suddenly began to rotate around each other, forming a massive vortex that sucked the falling raindrops into its center. The thunderous roar echoed throughout the world as the vortex expanded, seemingly replacing the sky itself. From my understanding, Bai Fan's wind and rain summoning aims to cover the heavens with wind and the earth with rain, creating a world of its own. The fusion of these two techniques, when combined into one, can be as protective as the light and shadow shield. Blue Dream Tao Sovereign waved his hand, and the massive vortex in the sky roared even louder, spreading out violently in all directions. The sky was engulfed in black winds, and the earth was submerged in rainwater. The entire world was engulfed in darkness, with not a single ray of light, as if separated from the starry sky itself, becoming a realm unto itself. This realm could be as vast as the universe or as small as a body, becoming an extraordinarily powerful defense. With a final grasp from Blue Dream Tao Sovereign, the world shook and returned to normal. Only a small black vortex remained, floating next to the ice sword. The 3 divine arts, whether you can comprehend them or not depends on your own fortune. Blue Dream Tao Sovereign took a step forward, and in an instant, his entire figure transformed into a streak of azure radiance, vanishing into the world. Only a murmur, spoken like a farewell soliloquy, lingered in the air after his departure. If she can regain her memory, then never mind the Blue Silk clan. Even becoming a traitor to the ancient star of antiquity, so be it. His words carried an unwavering resolve, revealing his character and indirectly answering the question Wang Lin had once posed. Silence returned. Heaven and earth were at peace again, as though the earlier earth-shattering events were nothing more than illusions, fragments of memory. Wang Lin had not noticed the moment the Tao Sovereign vanished. His gaze was locked onto the ice sword and the vortex sphere floating in midair. His mind was immersed in the scenes just now, Blue Dream Tao Sovereign's 3 divine arts flashing rapidly through his thoughts, as he raced to internalize and comprehend them. Time flowed on. 3 days, 7 days, half a month. Before he knew it, a month had passed. Throughout that entire month, Wang Lin remained seated cross-legged, unmoving. His eyes were bloodshot and filled with confusion. In his mind, a storm raged, transforming into thunderous roars. For 30 days, Wang Lin had been striving to understand those 3 divine arts. Despite Blue Dream Tao Sovereign having personally demonstrated and explained them, mastering them remained immensely difficult, for they encompassed the very fabric of the world itself. Heaven flipping seal, flip heaven into earth, Wang Lin muttered. He closed his weary eyes as if slipping into slumber, but within his spirit, his thoughts were madly deducing the countless variations of the heaven flipping seal, like unraveling a vast restriction array. 1 month passed, then 2, then 3. Wang Lin had now sat on this mountain peak for 4 full months. More than 100 days and nights had gone by, and the cultivation star had entered its rainy season. The skies were no longer blue, but blanketed in dark clouds. Even the light had dimmed, turning the world into a hazy, mist-laden realm. Rain poured down in sheets, splashing on the earth, stirring up layers of mist that made the land seem even more ethereal. Seated still, Wang Lin allowed the rain to fall on him without the slightest reaction. His eyes remained shut, but tears of blood trickled down his cheeks, washed away by the rain. His spiritual deduction had reached a peak of madness. Then came the night. The rain was torrential. Lightning occasionally split the sky, illuminating the world for fleeting instants. Wang Lin was thoroughly drenched, his body subtly trembling, then trembling more violently, until at last, even the mountain beneath him began to quake in response. Suddenly, he opened his eyes wide. At that exact moment, thunder and lightning tore through the sky, revealing his face clearly to the world. His eyes were a deep crimson, and in the depths of his pupils, the entire world was reflected. Thunder in the heavens, rain on the earth, all contained within. Yet more eerie was this. Within his pupils, the world itself had begun to rotate slowly. The motion was faint but persistent. The world in his gaze seemed to tilt, as if about to flip heaven into earth. As the rotation continued, Wang Lin's blood-red eyes bore into the world before him. Under his stare, the storm-racked night sky suddenly distorted, as if synchronized with the turning within his eyes, tilting. Thunder crashed across the heavens. Rain poured even harder, as if even the rainfall sensed danger and tried to hasten its descent. But within the slowly rotating world in Wang Lin's pupils, the rain paused. In that brief pause, the storm in the outer world halted as well. In that instant, Wang Lin's eyes flared with brilliance. He raised his right hand and pressed it toward the sky, his hoarse voice murmuring, "Heaven flip!" At the moment his voice rang out, the world thundered. The heavens within Wang Lin's pupils flipped. Sky became earth. Earth became sky. The torrential rain that had been crashing down from the heavens now reversed, collapsing with a roar. The transformation wasn't only in his gaze. It was happening in the real world of this cultivation star. The thunder-filled sky suddenly turned into earth. The ground became sky. Everything reversed. Rain shattered. Clouds dissolved. Lightning exploded, snaking across the reversed heavens. The newly formed earth that had replaced the sky rumbled violently. As Wang Lin's right hand pressed downward, that earth came crashing down with it. From below, one could even see oceans hanging upside down in the sky, cities where mortals walked unaware, all inverted in the heavens. One could even glimpse small beasts in dense forests and serpents racing through flooded terrain, none of them sensing what was coming. Wang Lin's eyes gleamed sharply. He could feel it clearly. Once the power of the heaven-flipping seal descended, it would be a world-shattering blow, far mightier than any divine art he had ever wielded. With a wave of his right hand, the earth did not press down. Instead, it immediately restored itself. The sky remained the sky, and the earth, still the earth. This heaven-flipping seal is by no means limited to just this move. If we liken humans to heaven and earth, then the skin and flesh represent the sky, while the internal organs represent the earth. When reversed, its destructive power is countless times stronger than this heaven-flipping seal. Wang Lin remained silent for a moment, suppressing the joy of realizing the power of the heaven-flipping seal. He closed his eyes and began to push forward with the second divine art. As Wang Lin executed the heaven-flipping seal, on the blue mountain where the blue dream Tao sovereign resided, his hand that had been gently brushing the ancient Xun'er paused slightly. A person of the 5 fundamental origins truly astonishes me. To think he could master the heaven-flipping seal in just 4 months. I had expected it would take him several years. This rainy season often lasted for half a year before coming to an end, and after that, different cultivation stars would usher in their respective seasons. After nearly 7 months of the rainy season, the cultivation star where Wang Lin was comprehending the divine art entered winter. Winter following such a rainy season was chilling. The earth, freshly moistened, was immediately sealed by snowflakes and cold air. Walking upon it, one could clearly feel waves of cold energy rising from the ground, creeping into the body through the feet, even slowing the flow of blood. For ordinary mortals, such a season was terrifying. However, the mortals of the Blue Silk clan's cultivation star had grown accustomed to this climate, especially with the help of Blue Silk clan cultivators. This happened every year, and it was not considered too difficult. Some crops even thrived during this cold winter. The harsher the cold, the better the harvest. Snowflakes drifted down, freezing the land for miles, creating a beautiful scene. The mountain peak where Wang Lin resided had turned white, resembling a snow-covered mountain. Only a few exposed black stones on the snow's surface served as accents, telling the story of the mountain's original color and memory, waiting for winter to pass. At the top of the mountain, the snow was thick, glistening without a single footprint. Wang Lin still sat cross-legged there, eyes closed, covered by the snow. In midair, the ice sword and vortex sphere floated, untouched by the snow. As snowflakes neared, they were immediately diverted and fell elsewhere. After comprehending the heaven-flipping seal, Wang Lin stayed on the mountain for another 4 months. As winter set in, he tried to push forward with the second divine art, the light and shadow shield. The power within this shield, containing the force of light, was still very vague. Despite his continuous attempts, he couldn't quite grasp it. Scenes of the Blue Dream Tao sovereign performing this divine art repeatedly echoed in Wang Lin's mind. One day, Wang Lin opened his tired eyes and stared blankly at the snow in front of him. He muttered to himself, "In my remnant night, there is light, there is the primordial law, but that light emanates from the blazing sun, whereas the Blue Dream Tao sovereign's divine art and the primordial law are unrelated. The light he gathers is that of all things in this world, all living beings. What is this light really?" Wang Lin fell silent as his divine sense spread out, slowly extending from the mountain peak in all directions. In his powerful divine sense, it was as if he had transformed into countless entities, moving in all directions. He saw mountains capped with white, the snow covering the earth, rivers frozen in ice, and seas with floating ice chunks. He saw the capital cities of mortals, where ordinary people held lamps and gathered around stoves in cozy homes, living their warm, peaceful lives. He saw the rich in their fine clothes and abundant food, the extravagance of mortal royalty, and the Blue Silk clan cultivators on this cultivation star. He heard the melodies of the zither played by their hands, filling the air with beauty. He saw the snow falling from the sky, the cold-loving fish swimming beneath the frozen rivers, and the plants growing in the frozen ground during winter. He saw the hazy sky filled with countless stars, the chilling winds, and the crystalline beauty of snow. He even saw small animals shivering under the winter cold and the frozen bones of the dead. He saw everything, and as his divine sense spread further, the entire cultivation star became part of his mind and spirit. He watched quietly, observing silently, becoming one with the world, until the winter slowly passed, and signs of melting snow began to appear on the land. At some point, Wang Lin saw light. A faint, warm glow coming from a humble family of 3 in the mortal realm. The warmth of their familial bond gave him a sense of comfort. This light was faint, as if it could be extinguished with the slightest breeze, but it was real. Slowly, more lights appeared. He saw a light from two loving individuals, from the wealthy, and even from the dead skeletons, emanating sorrow, unwillingness, and struggle. He saw the light in small beasts as well. All things in this world, all living beings, at this moment, emitted light. The mountains, rivers, seas, earth, sky, and all spirits were all enveloped in a faint glow. Even the starry sky itself radiated dazzling starlight, which he gradually began to see clearly. In his mind, everything about this cultivation star contained light. These lights gradually multiplied, spreading like a spark that could start a prairie fire, enveloping Wang Lin's entire consciousness. He opened his eyes. At the instant his eyes opened and closed, the light he had seen with his divine sense suddenly condensed. It surged from all directions, surrounding his body. The earth and sky also emitted light, and the plants, mountains, and rivers were all filled with this glow. In the starry sky, more starlight descended, and even the mountain peak where Wang Lin sat in meditation radiated light. The lights gathered and increased, eventually making Wang Lin appear like a blazing sun. Beneath this immense glow, he seemed to transform into a massive light shadow. This light shadow surrounded him, with Wang Lin at its center. A look of realization appeared in his eyes, though there was still a trace of confusion within that realization. "Is this vitality?" he murmured, lifting his right hand and waving it forward. The light shadow dissipated, the radiance vanished, and everything returned to normal. He still had not fully understood what this light was. There was an elusive barrier preventing him from continuing his realization. Without breaking this barrier, he would never truly know. What Wang Lin didn't know was that this barrier was a gate leading to the third step for cultivators. Few could sense this barrier, and even fewer could break through it in their lifetime. The three divine abilities imparted by Blue Dream Tao Sovereign carried profound meaning. As the light shadow disappeared, Wang Lin's gaze fell once more on the ice sword and the vortex sphere that had remained suspended in midair, unchanged since Blue Dream Tao Sovereign had left. Staring at these two items, Wang Lin exhaled deeply. The three divine abilities, only the final one, the Tao technique, remained. He grasped the vortex sphere, which flew into his hand, held between his two fingers. His eyes gleamed as he focused on it. The vortex sphere had been fused by Blue Dream Tao Sovereign using that Tao technique, forming a more powerful divine ability than the art of summoning wind and rain, transforming into a realm. This fusion of power was the Tao technique he sought to impart to Wang Lin. Carefully observing the small sphere between his fingers, Wang Lin's eyes gradually revealed the 5 fundamental origins. These 5 origins circulated, spinning in his pupils. A wisp of invisible energy emanated from the sphere, heading straight for Wang Lin's eyes. Gradually, the sphere grew smaller, and after several days, the vortex sphere completely dissipated. Wang Lin closed his eyes and silently began to sense it. Tao techniques were entirely different from divine abilities. Whether divine abilities or spells, they were forms that could be explained and understood. Whether in attack or defense, they were visible and tangible, like the heaven-shaking seal or the light and shadow shield. All of these could be seen and transformed into tangible forms. But Tao techniques were formless and intangible, a strange art that could not be easily described. The Tao technique Wang Lin first encountered was the Tao dissipation in the 7-colored realm. This technique was invincible, and without extreme realms or heaven-defying power, Wang Lin would have been unable to resist it. The second time he encountered a Tao technique was with the help of the Lord of the Sealed Realm. After years of meditation in the Tao realm, he had grasped a Tao technique of his own. Though incomplete and hard to describe, this technique allowed his Tao concept to transform into a strange ripple, harming enemies invisibly. Even the elders of the demon sect Rift battlefield had been wounded without realizing it, which spoke to the power of this art. Now, this was the third Tao technique Wang Lin had encountered. His mind sank into a peculiar state, and in this state, he began to develop an awareness that he could alter any divine ability or material. Compared to the first 2 divine abilities, This Tao technique seemed to require far less time for realization. Tao techniques were often like that. Once understood, it was clear. If not, no matter how long one tried, they would never comprehend it. With his eyes still closed, Wang Lin reached out into the void, and the ice sword instantly appeared, landing in his hand. Though his eyes remained shut, he felt that what he was holding was not a sword, but a cloud. As he focused, the ice crystal emitted crackling sounds. Cracks appeared all over it, and moments later, it exploded with a loud bang, transforming into fragments of ice. These ice fragments circled Wang Lin's right hand. As they spun, they bizarrely melted, turning into drops of water. The water formed into a vortex, rapidly spinning until it vanished, becoming mist. The mist, like a small storm, howled around Wang Lin's right hand. Gradually, the mist dissipated, and in its place appeared a white cloud. Wang Lin's hand held the cloud, and with a wave, it gently ascended, drifting toward the distance. Wang Lin opened his eyes and looked at the white cloud drifting toward the horizon, a smile appearing on his face. This technique can fuse divine arts. The first one I aim to fuse is the shrinking earth technique. Although this divine art is powerful and can cover the vast starry sky in an instant, it has a fatal flaw. Once the heaven and earth energy is disturbed, it cannot be performed. That woman in white, staying outside the blue silk clan, must be completely shaken off before I can truly dominate within this ancient star of antiquity. I must absorb enough devotional power to fully cultivate my 5 fundamental origins to their maximum potential. The fire of the Fire Sparrow clan, the thunder of the Lightning Thunder clan. These will all be the nutrients for the great completion of my origin. Even the third eye mark of the people of the ancient starry sky holds a mysterious power. It seems they can devour one another, constantly evolving towards a certain perfection. What I'm more interested in is the Palm Sovereign, who excels in scheming. Which ancient clan does he belong to? Wang Lin's eyes flickered. In his storage pouch was the essence spirit of a white-haired elder from the Moon Devourer clan. All the answers would be found within that elder's essence spirit.